my personal feeling is that there's a big difference between fantasy land and reality. Fantasy land is what we do. You're either writing something, writing a song, writing a book, doing a movie, doing a television show. That's fantasy land.
Kurt Russell, a former Disney child star turned Hollywood icon, has evolved from the innocent roles of his youth into a fiercely outspoken critic of modern woke culture. In this video, we will explore how Kurt, like many of his industry peers, has become a vocal opponent of the ideologies he feels are eroding the fundamental freedoms that once defined America. His opinions on gun control, gay marriage, and Hollywood's growing obsession with political correctness reveal a man unwilling to conform to the dominant narrative, and one who sees the woke movement as dangerously detached from reality.
First of all, I was in a situation, we do what we call a dog and pony.
Right.
We're out doing the dog and pony selling a picture, and you get sometimes you get what you feel is slightly ambushed by somebody who's really got an agenda, and that's sort of, I think, that's my opinion of what happened to me the other day.
Kurt's critiques are not subtle, and they often lead to contentious interviews where he finds himself at odds with those trying to bait him into a defensive position. He once described such encounters as ambushes, where interviewers with hidden agendas aim to provoke a reaction. Sometimes you get what feels like an ambush by someone who's really got an agenda, Kurt remarked about a recent experience. Yet, despite the tension, Kurt remains steadfast in his refusal to be silenced. He is well aware that the goal of such provocations is often to paint him as reactionary or out of touch, but he is unwavering in his resolve to speak his mind.
Do you really believe they're not going to? Are you serious about that? Are you seriously? What good will that? Oh my God, you and I just disagree.
One of the most passionate aspects of Kurt's opposition to woke culture is his stance on gun control. He holds one of the strongest positions on this issue in Hollywood. To Kurt, the notion that stricter gun control laws would prevent terrorism or crime is not only naive, but dangerous. If you think gun control is going to change a terrorist's point of view, I think you're out of your mind, he bluntly asserts. For Kurt, the issue isn't about limiting access to firearms, it's about maintaining the balance of power between the people and their government. He believes the Second Amendment was enshrined by America's founding fathers to protect citizens from government tyranny, not just to grant them the right to own weapons.
If you think gun control or something like that is going to change a terrorist point of view, I think you're out of your mind. I think anybody is. I think it's absolutely insane. The problem we're having right now is that we don't have the concepts of how to turn it around and say, you may think you've got me worried about what you're going to do. Dude, you're about to find out what I'm going to do. And that's going to worry you a lot more.
Kurt's views on gun ownership are based on the idea of mutual deterrence, what he describes as mutually assured destruction. He argues that allowing responsible citizens to own guns acts as a deterrent against those who might abuse them. This approach, he says, is the only way to prevent violence without infringing on personal freedoms. The problem we're having right now is that we don't have the concepts of how to turn it around and say, you may think you've got me worried about what you're going to do, but you're about to find out what I'm going to do, and that's going to worry you a lot more. In Kurt's eyes, gun control laws don't protect people. They leave them vulnerable.
I think there's a very strong reason Founding Fathers had for the Second Amendment, and that is that no government ever hasn't had to fight its own people, and its own people hasn't had to fight its own government. We had our Civil War.
However, gun control is just one battle in Kurt's broader war against woke culture. To him, the real danger lies in how this culture demands conformity and suppresses free thought. According to Kurt, in today's Hollywood, to survive, you have to lie. You have to pretend to agree with ideas you might find absurd. To survive in woke culture, you have to become a liar, he says. You have to pretend that you think fat is beautiful, you have to pretend to be race-obsessed, and you have to pretend that Dylan Mulvaney is a woman who should be included in female spaces. This forced alignment with ideals he views as irrational frustrates Kurt, who sees it as an assault on truth and authenticity. He believes Hollywood is no longer a place where creativity thrives, but a place where artists are forced to toe the line of political correctness or risk their careers.
If that Second Amendment hadn't been there, those people would not have had the opportunity to do what they considered was defending their life, their way, their style of living. So I agree with that. I think that's an important part of our existence, and it's basically that simple.
To survive in woke culture, you have to become a liar. You have to pretend that you think fat is beautiful. You have to pretend to be race-obsessed. You have to pretend that you think Dylan Mulvaney is a woman and should be included in female spaces. We are being told that you have to lie repeatedly in order to survive in corporate culture.
Kurt's frustrations extend beyond Hollywood and into broader societal debates, such as gay marriage. A self-described libertarian, he has no issue with individuals' personal choices, but he does take issue with what he sees as the preferential treatment given to certain groups under the guise of equality. My beef is with the advantages given to anybody because they happen to live together and have a ring and a ceremony, he explains. To Kurt, no demographic should be granted special privileges simply because they align with woke ideals. His libertarian viewpoint is rooted in a desire for true equality, where everyone is treated the same under the law without favoritism based on identity politics.
Well, I think there's an issue that people aren't talking about with gay marriage. There's a lot of things that they beat around the bush with. My beef, I'm a libertarian, so my beef with advantages given to anybody because they happen to live together and have a ring and have had a ceremony.
Kurt also raises concerns about how the woke agenda is seeping into corporate and social life. He sees this culture not only as a threat to free speech, but as a form of coercion, where people are forced to act against their beliefs to fit in. This, he argues, is a form of intellectual dishonesty that is becoming pervasive in American society. Kurt isn't alone in feeling this way as more and more Hollywood figures begin to speak out against the constraints of woke culture, even though doing so often comes at great personal and professional risk.
So the people who want to defend themselves can't? No, not so you can't, just so the idiots can't get a hold of them. Do you really believe they're not going to? Are you serious about that? Are you seriously? What people that? Oh my God, you and I just disagreed.
Throughout this video, we'll explore how Kurt Russell has become one of the most prominent voices against the woke ideology in Hollywood and beyond. From gun control to free speech, from identity politics to personal liberties, Kurt's refusal to bend to the prevailing winds of political correctness makes him a rare figure in today's entertainment industry. His outspoken nature and willingness to challenge the status quo have earned him respect from many who feel the same way, but are too afraid to speak up. So, as we dive deeper into his thoughts and beliefs, we'll see why Kurt believes the battle against woke culture is one worth fighting. For him, it's not just about protecting individual rights, it's about preserving the very principles that America was founded on. Stay tuned to find out more about how Kurt Russell continues to stand up for what he believes in, even when it puts him at odds with the powerful forces shaping Hollywood and the broader cultural landscape. Gun control laws, as they stand, fail to protect the innocent, those who just want to defend themselves from reckless individuals with dangerous intentions. It's hard to see the fairness in that. Kurt Russell raises an intriguing point, even if his tone comes off as sarcastic. Do you really believe you can control the behavior of people who are determined to take away your way of life? His answer is simple: no, you can't. The only thing you can do is firmly stand your ground and say, that's not happening. Now, let's zoom out for a moment. What exactly do gun control laws accomplish? If we follow Kurt's reasoning, criminals with bad intentions will always find ways to bypass the law and arm themselves. This leaves law-abiding, unarmed citizens as sitting ducks. How can anyone argue against that logic? It's a tough position to counter, but Kurt isn't alone in Hollywood when it comes to strong views on gun control. Ted Nugent, a musician and avid supporter of gun rights, is even more outspoken and unapologetic. Ted has famously said, "A person's moral compass can be measured by how they respect free men's right to defend themselves." He views the Second Amendment as common sense, going as far as to question why there's even a debate about it. While Kurt is polite in his assertion that the Second Amendment should be upheld, Ted takes it a step further, stating he doesn't need a document or another person to tell him that he has the right to protect his life. In simpler terms, gun control isn't really about guns, it's about controlling people's rights. Both Kurt and Ted see it as a fundamental right for everyone to own a firearm, believing it's a key way to ensure public safety. To them, this is a basic human right, and they argue that those advocating for more restrictions are the ones who need a reality check. Speaking of reality checks, the debate around wokeness often touches on whether those who identify with the movement are out of touch with reality. There's also a growing discussion about how these ideas are being forced upon others, regardless of whether they agree. This isn't just a Hollywood issue, it's a nationwide conversation. In fact, we can't talk about this topic without mentioning Jordan Peterson, another public figure with strong opinions on wokeness, particularly around gender identity and equality. His stance adds yet another layer to this already complex debate. Peterson has famously criticized the idea that gender identity is so fluid that it can be changed on a whim. His argument is that being asked to accept such ideas without question stretches the limits of reason. But standing so boldly against popular narratives like Kurt comes with its own set of challenges. As a result of his strong stance, Kurt has found himself a target of criticism from Hollywood's woke community. One notable example is his opposition to the government providing benefits to same-sex couples just because they want to be together. This stance drew public ire from actor Mark Ruffalo, who condemned Kurt for his views on marriage equality. Kurt didn't back down, responding, "It was such a slap in the face. I thought, screw you, buddy, I'm going full force on this." Kurt, known for standing firm against opposition, made it clear he wasn't about to retreat. He's vocal, passionate, and refuses to be cornered when it comes to his beliefs. It's not just in interviews where Kurt stands his ground, he's reportedly just as adamant on set. Rumors began circulating around August 2024 that Kurt had severed ties with Walt Disney Company due to its woke agenda, claiming he was fed up with how it was impacting his career. Though the story gained traction, there was no solid evidence to back up these claims. Regardless of whether the rumors are true, Kurt has been clear about one thing: Hollywood is heading for trouble if it doesn't course correct. Gun violence continues to claim innocent lives, often carried out by criminals who act with impunity, knowing their victims are defenseless. For Kurt, this is proof that gun control laws do nothing to stop these tragedies. He challenges anyone to argue otherwise, questioning, "If you think gun control is going to change a terrorist's mindset, you're out of your mind." In the end, Kurt's position is firm, and the debate around gun control and wokeness is far from over. Whether you agree with him or not, one thing is for sure: these are conversations that won't be going away anytime soon. What are your thoughts? Is Kurt right, or is there more to the story? We'd love to hear your opinions, so drop a comment below. And if you found this discussion thought-provoking, make sure to follow the channel for more content. Thanks for watching, and until next time, stay informed, stay engaged.